Hey, what's up you guys? You're watching Team APS, Paul here, and in today's video, as you can see from the title, we're going to be building a $30 Lair of Darkness deck. That means if you buy 3 copies of the new Lair of Darkness structure deck that came out last week, you'll be able to build this deck I'm about to show you. So I'll explain some strategies and some card choices, and then maybe you guys can pick it up and build it for yourself. If you want to get copies of it, you can buy it from TCG Player. They're actually the company that sent it to us, and you can find some really good deals in there. So I'll have a link in the description for that. Also, be sure to subscribe if you want to see more variants of this deck. I kind of want to build some more real-life, versions of this, combining it with things like Infernoids or other decks like that. So it should be a lot of fun. Anywho, let's move our Torment tokens to the side and hop into this deck profile. All right, so we've got our boss monster, Darkest Diablos, Lord of the Lair. He is the retrained version of the old Diablos card, King of the Abyss. And his effect is extremely powerful. So you can bring him back anytime you tribute a dark monster. So you can bring him back from your graveyard, or you can just summon him straight up from your hand, which is great because once he hits the field, he has 3 really strong effects. First of all, he can't be tributed, which means that if you face a mirror match and they're using Lair of Darkness, they won't be able to tribute your Diablos. It also means that they can't tribute it to summon a kaiju, which is typically a strong way of getting rid of boss monsters, and that's really good. And also, it's only your opponent who can't tribute it, so you can still tribute it for your viruses. The next good effect is that it can't be targeted by any card effects. That's great. That means your opponent can't use Compulsory Evacuation Device or Book of Moon or any of that kind of selective removal stuff. None of those things can target him, so he's really hard to get off the field. And, last but not least, he has a tributing effect of his own. You can tribute a dark monster and then make your opponent put a card from their hand on the top or bottom of their deck. So it's a really strong plus, and if you have Lair of Darkness out in the field, you'll be actually tributing your opponent's monsters to do that instead, so you can get some really, really good removal going there. I would say that you should run 3. I mean, like in a normal deck, maybe you'd only want to run 2 of a boss monster like this because of clogging, but he's easy enough to summon that I think it's worth it. Plus, he's like, kind of the namesake, so why not, right? And then we've got triple Lilith, Lady of Lament. The card that honestly has gotten, I'd say, even more hype than the Diablos himself. She can tribute a dark monster, herself included, and this is a quick effect too. You get to select 3 traps from your deck and then have your opponent randomly select one that gets set to your field. So this allows you to search your virus cards and any other normal traps you have in your deck. It's extremely powerful because you can actually use it in your opponent's turn, and if Lair of Darkness is on the field, you can tribute their monsters because they'll be treated as dark to activate her effect. That's really incredible. And just one last perk, actually, she can't even be hit by cards like Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring because she actually sets the trap from your deck directly to your field, which makes it great, actually, because it means that if you're doing this in your opponent's turn, since, like I said, it's a quick effect, you will have your virus already set and ready to go when you start your next turn. So pretty cool. Definitely going to be running 3 of her because, seeing her is extremely, extremely important. I hit the camera. All right, triple Arima, the Wicked Warden. You can discard him and search your Lair of Darkness, so he kind of functions as a terraforming because it wasn't actually printed in this deck. You can also tribute another dark monster and draw a card, but if you tribute a different dark monster than him, then you actually can instead search a dark monster that has 2,000 or more defense from your deck to your hand instead of drawing. So he's an easy way to search out your boss monster, Diablos. Very handy. Next, we've got Duke Shade, the Sinister Shadow Lord. So you can normal summon him, but why would you do that? He only has 500 attack. Instead, you can special summon him by tributing any number of dark monsters. That could include maybe one of your opponent's dark monsters. And he gets 500 attack for each dark monster that was tributed to summon him, so you can make him quite large and still trigger some other effects like Diablos. Now, when he gets summoned, you get to add a level 5 or higher dark monster from your grave to your hand, so that's a good way to recycle Diablos, or a few of our tribute summon monsters that we are running. And the last thing is he does have 2,000 defense, which makes him a really good target for a couple of your virus cards. Alright, so tribute summoning monsters. Vanity's Fiend, Legendary Maju Garzette, and Caius the Mega Monarch. I'm just choosing to run one of each. Vanity's Fiend is a good way to shut your opponent down because it stops players from special summoning. Just make sure that you summon this after you've maybe summoned your Diablos to the field, so that way, you won't be too locked out of things. He's strong in his own, but if this is on the field, then you won't be able to summon him. Legendary Maju Garzette just gets really big. You tribute all your monsters to summon it, and it gets attack equal to their combined attack, which is potentially huge. And also it does piercing, so your opponent doesn't really get to run away. And Caius the Mega Monarch. Takes 2 tributes, but if you're tributing dark monsters, you get to banish 2 cards from your opponent, which is really strong. So these are the tribute summon monsters. We're only running 3 because they can be a bit cloggy when you can't summon them. But thanks to Lair, you generally should be able to. Next, we've got Tour Guide, one of the most important cards because Tour Guide's effect lets you summon a level 3 Fiend monster from your deck and negate its effects. The main thing you're going to be wanting to get is Lilith because you really want to see her. So you might be thinking, well, it negates her effect, so what use is that? The cool thing is Lilith can still activate its effect, it just won't resolve. So you can tribute the Lilith or one of your opponent's monsters if Lair of Darkness is in the field, so it still allows you to do some really cool stuff. That makes Tour Guide quite useful. Maybe I'll come off the ban list soon too. Next, we've got Double Stygian Street Patrol. Very handy card. It lets you summon a Fiend monster with 2,000 or less attack from your hand just by banishing it from the graveyard. So the sooner you can get it to grave, the better. Also has a field effect, but it's mostly negligible. We've got Triple Curry Bandit. This card is pretty neat. This deck doesn't have all too many normal summons, so when you normal summon Curry Bandit, during the end phase you contribute it and excavate the top 5 cards of your deck, pick a spell or trap among those cards, add it to your hand, and send the rest to the grave. You can fill your deck up with Diablos and things like that, so pretty cool because you can retrieve it with Duke Shade later if you need to. Same with your tribute summon monsters. And then finally, the namesake of the deck, Lair of Darkness. So this field spell is extremely powerful and overwhelming when it's like kind of going off. It lets you tribute your opponent's monsters. Okay, first of all monsters in the field become dark. Second of all, if you attribute a monster you control to activate a card effect, you contribute a dark monster your opponent controls instead. So that's great. It's only once per turn, but that's really strong because it means that you contribute your opponent's monsters for like viruses or to activate like Lilith or Arima. So this is huge. And then at the end of the turn, actually both players' turns, the turn player gets tokens summoned to their field equal to the number of monsters that got tributed. So you get to use your cutesy tokens, your torment tokens. Yeah, so you want to see Lair of Darkness as soon as possible, and that's why we're running 3. Normally it's the type of field spell I might only run 2 of, but your opponent's going to be in a hurry to get rid of this because this lets you out their monsters incredibly easily. Cards like Odd Eye's Vortex Dragon or Invoked Mechaba, any of those things that can negate things, like totally awesome, you can just tribute them away and they can't even use their effects because this doesn't activate, so they'll have nothing to negate. Your opponent's going to really try to get rid of this, namely with, Cosmic Cyclone, but Ghost Ogre can also hit it when it uses its token summoning effect, so you want to have 3 so that you'll have backups. And then draw power, we've got Triple Allure of Darkness. This is the staple dark deck draw card. You have to banish a dark monster, and there aren't really ways to retrieve it in this deck, but that's okay, you've got plenty of dark monsters. I mean, your deck is literally all dark, so no biggies. 2 Recurring Nightmare. So Lilith and Arima both have 0 defense, and this lets you get 2 dark monsters with 0 defense from your graveyard and add them to your hand. At a plus, like it's a +1, so it lets you recoup some resources. If you need to quickly get back like an Arima and use it to search another copy of your Lair of Darkness, you can, or of course just getting back Lilith is always nice. So yeah, this is really good. Then you've got Fires of Doomsday. I'm running 2 copies. It lets you just summon 2 tokens. You can use your Torment tokens for that too. And you can't summon any other monsters the turn you use this, except for normal sets, but you don't generally want to be doing that. So the idea is to maybe use this during the end phase of your opponent's turn, so that way you can then use it in your turn. Summon cards in your turn, I mean to say. And finally, we've got, let me get these spells together. Finally, we've got some traps. A full suite of virus cards. Grinning Grave, Deck Devi, Full Force, ×2. Eradicator, it's limited to 1. And 2, Crush Card Virus. So, yeah, this is the full suite of viruses. Basically, I just kind of picked a ratio that I liked. You can really run these in any kind of ratio you want, except for this. It's limited, like I said. But they all have their own purposes. This gets rid of strong monsters. This gets rid of spells or traps. Monsters with defense thresholds. This gets rid of weak monsters. And this just kind of gets rid of monsters. It's actually really cool. It makes your opponent not be able to activate the graveyard effects of monsters that get destroyed by this. So if you're like facing a Burning Abyss deck or something, then they won't be able to trigger. So yeah, these are all searchable with Lilith, so you'll have easy access to them, and Diablos, and all your monsters really make for great tribute targets with this card. And then the last traps are triple copies of Mind Crush. I just felt like this is the most powerful kind of meta-relevant card that you can use, and I'm glad they included it in this deck. It's actually searchable with Lilith as well, and the idea with Mind Crush is just pay attention to whatever your opponent adds to their hand, and you can use Mind Crush to just take it right out of their hand. It's very, very strong, very disruptive. And this can even hit cards like Astrograph Sorcerer when it activates in the hand. You can use Mind Crush. Call Astrograph, and then it won't be able to resolve, and it'll get destroyed. Cool. Actually, don't think it gets destroyed. It just goes to the graveyard. Yeah. So even better. Won't be able to trigger another. And that concludes my $30 Lair Darkness Structure deck. Just a quick recap thing of everything that we're running. Like I said, this deck is really fun. It's unique. It kind of drew my attention because I feel like not many other structure decks have been doing this. Like being this unique, I feel like the Wave of Light one wasn't as enticing. So I recommend building this. I recommend maybe mixing it with some other decks that you have. Dark Lords are popular for whatever reason. Dark World comes to mind. I mean, I've seen like people use Cosmos, all sorts of things. I personally want to build an Infernoid variant of this, but you know, we'll see. I've actually got those cards somewhere. I wish I could show. Oh yeah, got this little Infernoid core that I've been kind of playing around with. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can combine this with. Let me know down in the comments below, what are you planning to combine this deck with? And hopefully this deck profile was useful. If you're picking up this deck, it's very budget, it's very cheap. You can send it to a friend and they can build it. Makes for a great gift in that way. And yeah, it's gonna be it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and you will thumbs up, share it, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the bell, follow me on social media, all the great stuff. Buy it from TCG Player. I think that's it. So I'll see you guys in the next one.